So one of the hardest things about filming videos and not having some sort of a film crew with you is the fact that normally you have to put your camera onto a tripod and you're kind of stuck in one place. But today I'm testing out the Hohem iSteady M6 Gimbal Stabilizer. And what it allows me to do with some AI and a smart little contraption that it comes with that clips right onto the top of the gimbal is something that lets me actually be free and move around. And the gimbal will actually track how I move. And it's almost like having my own film crew right at the ready. So I'm going to walk through some of the great features on this about this gimbal that has 3 axes, it has stabilization, it has multiple modes that you can do. But the best thing is, yes, I can just move around and it'll follow my every move. So stay tuned and let's check out some of the features. Let's take a look what comes with the Hohem iSteady M6 Gimbal Kit. So I've already unboxed it. This is the box. It's got a lot of information on it. And one of the nice things that I really like about this is the fact that it comes with a carrying case. And it is a fairly hard case, zips up, it's pretty compact. I've already opened it up. And this is what you get inside the package. So you obviously have the gimbal. So it's fairly compact. It's locked down right now. It does come also with a mini tripod, which also acts as a handle extender. So the tripod extends out, screws onto the bottom of the gimbal itself. But you can also mount the gimbal directly onto a tripod, which is something that I'm going to be doing in some of my tests. But the other really, really cool thing that it comes with is this little device right here. And this is sort of an AI sensor that helps you track your movement. And it also has a built-in light. So it is completely magnetic. You can face it forward or backward. It snaps right on. And I'll show that in action as well. And you use gestures to activate the tracking and deactivate and center it and take pictures and that sort of thing. And then lastly, in the box, apart from the manual, which I encourage you to read carefully, I've used the gimbal just a little bit, but I have to keep reading the manual until it becomes a little bit more natural to my behavior. But inside here are 2 charging cables, one to charge the gimbal, and then so it's a USB-A to USB-C charger. You have to bring your own plug. You can plug in a regular USB-C cable as well. And then there is a small cable here that allows you to charge directly from the gimbal to your smartphone, assuming that you have a USB-C connector. You can get an adapter for older iPhones. I'll be testing this out on the new iPhone as well that has a USB-C connector. So I'm going to walk through some of the features of this great gimbal. I've tested quite a few gimbals in the past, invested on one in Kickstarter, and the Hohem really is superior to everything that I've tested thus far. Not an expert, but I'll walk through some of the features that I find really exciting about this gimbal and allowing me to actually film myself as opposed to being on a tripod. I can move around. So let's check it out. Hey, it's HighTechDad, and I've already walked through sort of the unboxing and what's in the box and all that great stuff. But I figured I'd also just sort of say that gimbals are a little bit new to me. So I have had a couple in the past, as I mentioned, wasn't very impressed with them. But the Hohem iSteady M6 gimbal really is making me a convert. So like I said, it's got AI tracking. You don't even need an application to do it. It has this little gadget that snaps on magnetically to the front of the gimbal to the very top. You can use it forward or rear facing so that you can use a forward facing camera or a rear facing camera when you're using it. And it just seems to magically work with gestures of turning on and turning off. You can see some of the behind the scenes videos that I'm putting in on this video, so you can see it moving around and doing stuff. The neat thing about this little AI gadget, as I keep calling it, it's a module, it's a physical thing that you snap on, is that it also has a backfill light. So you can use it in darker locations. It's got varying levels of intensity and temperature, and you can even do color hues if you want to spice up your video a little bit. So it's got, as I said, 3 axes that it can pivot on, and you can, like I'm showing right here, you can crouch down and move around. And again, this is all mounted on a tripod. I'm going to take it out on without a tripod and just sort of show some of the features that it can do. It also has a really good load, so accessories. You can attach them to the gimbal. So say you want a different mic or a battery or a different type of fill light. It can hold up to 0.88 pounds. So that's a lot. I've been playing around with different ways of attaching cordless mics to it and other types of things. There are various things that I can do with it. It has an 18-hour battery, and it can charge up fully using USB-C in about 3 hours. It even has a little port built into the gimbal so you can reverse charge your smartphone. So say you're running out of juice on that, you can hook it up and use the gimbal to do an emergency charge on your smartphone. So one thing to remember when you're using the AI tracking is that if you use a lot of gestures with your hands, you may actually stop the gimbal from tracking you. The sensor may see that, hey, he put up his hand. Now the red light on the tracker has turned on. And that means if I move to the side, it's not tracking me. But if I just do the OK gesture, here we are again, and it's tracking me again. So let's walk through some of the other features. I'm going to take it off the tripod, and we'll test some different things that you can do with it. So I want to walk through some of the buttons that you find on the gimbal itself. Maybe hard to see a little bit, but hopefully you'll get an idea for some of the modes and the functions that it can do. So for starters, you have this little joystick here. And by pushing up and pushing down, you can do tilt control, as you can see here. And then left to right, you can do pan rotation. So this right here is the shutter button, and around it there is another type of control, and this lets you zoom in and zoom out manually. You can see I'm zooming in, zooming out. So it's a nice feature to have, just built right into the gimbal itself. One thing to note, I am using the Hohem application to control this, and you do need to Bluetooth pair the gimbal with your smartphone. So the shutter button actually does something else. It obviously can start recording by pressing on it once. You'll see it starts recording. Press it again, it stops recording. If you press it twice, it'll switch to photo mode. Press it twice again, and it switches back. Again, you have to have your smartphone paired with the Hohem gimbal via Bluetooth for this to work. And then another neat feature is if you press it 3 times, it'll switch cameras. So 1, 2, 3, and now you can see me on the camera itself. On the front of the gimbal is the trigger. So if you're filming an action shot, you're going to press and hold that, and it'll actually pan and stick to things a lot better than if you just were to use it in non-sport mode. Let's say you've moved the gimbal around and panned it and tilted and done a bunch of things, and you want to recenter. You can double click the trigger and it'll automatically recenter to where you started. And then with 3 times clicking on the trigger, it goes in reverse mode. So this will be suddenly facing to me, 1, 2, 3, and it flips around, and now I'm being filmed using it. And you can tap 3 times again, and it'll go back to the first person. But then another interesting thing is if you go into wide angle mode, and let's see if I can do this. So wide angle mode, and if I tilt down, what you see at the bottom of the screen here is the gimbal, but they have actually thought about this. And if you press the trigger 4 times, it'll magically flip around so that you can do wide angle shots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it does some magic. And now this thing that was in the camera before is no longer there, and so that you have full visibility. So now if I go and click it 4 times again, it goes back to the original state, and you can see if I tilt down again, there's the gimbal right there in my shot, and that's not very ideal. So on the side here is another multifunction wheel, and so by twisting this you can actually adjust the roll of the gimbal itself. You can do this all manually. If you ever need to recenter it again, you can just double click on the trigger and it'll automatically go back. There's some other functions on this. If you press and hold it, you can adjust the lighting settings. If you press it twice, you can adjust the focus. Let's see if that works. I might have it disabled. If you press and hold, you can turn on the light. So it might be kind of hard to see outside, but the light is actually on here. And you can, on the screen, you can adjust how bright it is and things like that. I'm going to flip around the AI sensor so that you can see the light. So I flipped around the AI sensor. If I wanted to track it, I could just turn my OK sign and it's going to start tracking me. And then I can also stop it. And I'm going to actually pivot it back so that you can see some other things here. If I press and hold, it turns on the light. So you can see this light isn't very bright, but it may be good for shooting at night and that type of thing. You can adjust by scrolling how bright it goes, as well as the color temperature. You press it again, you can adjust different things. So here it's much cooler lighting, here it's much warmer lighting. And then you can also play with the color values. I turned off the light. It's a little bit more complicated to do the RGB type of hues coming out of the light itself. I probably won't use it much because I do most of my filming outdoors, or I have some side lights to do different types of things. Then down here on the bottom, there are 2 buttons, A/B buttons. And what you can do with this is, say you want to have the gimbal automatically pan across from point A to point B. You set point A at a certain place, and then you set point B at another place, and you activate it, and it'll automatically pan across, capturing things over a duration of time. So that's a really nice feature to have. And then lastly, I'll go into the different modes that you can use. So I'm going to walk through some of the different modes here. I'm turning on the camera so I can record it. It's recording right now. So the mode button is right at the bottom here. And right now it's in PF mode, which is pan follow. So basically it'll sweep side to side. It'll stay kind of locked to wherever you had it focused. So the tilt isn't really doing anything other than keeping it centered. But as you move around, it'll move from side to side. Now, if I move it to the next one, which is pan tilt follow, it uses the momentum of the gimbal to tilt as well as pan right and left. So you can see it's going up and down and it's tilting. I'm kind of over accentuating things here so that it'll come up. Then if I focus on something I want to track, like that pile of rocks there, I can hit lock, which is the next mode. So now it stays locked in no matter what I do with the gimbal. It's locked on that pile of rocks right there. So moving back and forth, up and down, tilting, that doesn't matter. It's all locked to it. And then last mode here is POV, so it's following everything. So it's got side to side, it's got rotation, tilt, panning, everything like that. So it's a little bit more loose using all of the axes. And then the last mode that you have, which you triple click on the M button, is inception mode. So I'm going to triple click on that, and then it automatically starts going into this crazy mode where it's rotating around. It's capturing a single point on the screen, but rotating. So you can do this while you're walking or running or just stationary like this. And it is kind of a creative feature that's built directly into this gimbal. Triple click it, it goes back, and I can double click to recenter or face it towards me. 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Another feature that I wanted to show is object tracking. You can do either object or people tracking. Hopefully you can see it on the screen. It's kind of hard, but there is a button that you press to activate it, and then you draw a circle or a square around the object that you want to track, and then it finds it, and then based on what you do, it's going to automatically track this object as you move around. So I'm filming it, it's tracking it. I don't have to do anything. I can like raise the gimbal up, put it down low. It's tracking this object on the ground. So this works with people and with objects, as I said, and it's a really neat way to be able to center the focal point on a particular object. In terms of putting in your smartphone, it's got these clamps here. Right now the gimbal's off, so it's just sort of free. It is balanced here. If I take it off, you can see these are the clamps, so it can handle, this is a iPhone 14. So it's a Pro Max version, it's fairly big. So one thing that you're going to want to do, depending on the weight of your camera, is actually balance the iPhone before you put it in, or balance your smartphone. And they have this really great feature. It's kind of hard to see it here, but in the back is a little clamp that lets you adjust the weight. And this is very different than other gimbals that I've used in the past, where I had to manually screw in weights or put other types of weights and it would never be balanced. So this is really nice. It just locks into place, unlocks, and you can adjust it based on the weight. And it all depends on your phone being in the gimbal when you balance it. So let's put it in here. Oh, so one thing about the AI is it pops off, you naturally want to grab it. So you can see it's not balanced right now. It just sort of goes heavy to one side, but then I can adjust the clamp on the side and push it way out, and it becomes a lot more balanced than it was before. It's a bit of a science, so this is too far. And if I do it here, it's too little. So you just sort of have to play around, and then once you get it somewhat balanced, you can just use the auto stabilization, auto calibration that's built into the gimbal software and the gimbal itself to balance it out. So you just want to get it somewhat level, and then you're fine. So I hope you found that walkthrough of the Hohem iSteady M6 gimbal helpful. I must say, I really like it. I think it's a very well designed gimbal with many features that advanced users and not as advanced users can use. It does take a little bit of time to learn. That's kind of a little bit of my negative. Also, I found sometimes the gestures pick up things. If you're very animated, you may stop your recording unintentionally. it could also, you could lose the AI sensor pretty easily because it is simply magnetic and it clips onto the top. It could pop off in a bag or something like that. But I do like the fact that you can magnetically change the directions to make it forward facing, reverse facing. Um, if you're going to be charging your iPhone, and assuming you have like a USB-C iPhone, it still may be a little bit hard. It's going to push the iPhone out, and you have to rebalance and stuff. And I lost my tracking. Now I'm back. And some of the other features that you can do, there's like a button click to get if you're doing a wide angle shot, it'll automatically flip around so that you're not shooting part of the gimbal as you're filming. I have to say, I love the AI tracking. It is like having a virtual film crew. The auto calibration is really nice. It takes about 40 seconds to do it. You just put it on a steady surface, click a button, it works some magic, and it automatically calibrates. The construction itself is very solid. It doesn't feel cheap in any way. I love the fact that it comes with a carrying case, and comes with a mini removable tripod. Again, I'm using a regular tripod, as you can see from some of my behind the scenes shots. But it really makes it easier if you just want to extend your reach using the gimbal without a larger tripod. You can fold up the mini tripod once it's attached, and you can get highs and lows and a lot of different camera angles. Overall, really liked it. If you want to learn more about it, I've also written a review on my website, and that's at www.hightechdad.com. Links below in the description. You can follow me on social media. I'm on various platforms. Just search for @HighTechDad. And you can head over to my Facebook page at facebook.com/HTD blog. What do you think about gimbals in general? Do you use them? Have you used this one? I would love to have a comment. Leave a comment below. And also let me know if you have any questions about this gimbal. I've only been testing it a few hours. It seems to work really well for my purposes, but I'd love to hear from you. So be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and like this video. You know the drill. Basically, more follows on social media makes me want to produce more videos. So if you have any other questions, leave a comment, reach out to me on social media. And thanks for watching.